Inflation has doubled. Things literally, your money has like your inflation is twice as bad as it's been over the 100-year average. And that's just the beginning. It is going to get worse. People are like, well, look at all these real estate prices that are going up like crazy. What do you think that is a reaction to? Yes, real estate is a very different game. Yes, we have a need for, according to Wall Street Journal, 4 million homes, that people want in the marketplace. And we don't have that. Last week alone, half of the inventory in the entire US was snatched up and is gone.
Chris, it's happening again. Just like 2020, suddenly everybody is getting on Twitter, they're getting on YouTube, and they're talking about the imminent crash.
Oh man, are we doing that conversation day again?
Everyone's talking about the crash.
We just
again.
did this like 6 months ago.
Hey, you like Graham Stephan?
I do.
He's talking about a crash.
I think he's talking about the crash because he's piggybacking on other people talking about the crash.
By the end of the video, he says he's not as concerned as some of the other people are actually. So he's probably similar to your.
By the way, there is a crash coming that everyone should be very worried about.
Yeah.
But they keep pulling it into the game of real estate. And I'm like, you clearly don't understand the way real estate works. It's stupid simple compared to the stock market or cryptocurrency.
So let's get into this a little bit.
All right, here we go.
Where a lot of this is coming from is this guy, Michael Burry.
And the famous Michael Burry.
The famous Michael Burry. He's a hedge fund investor, hedge fund manager, an investor, a physician, and he's known for successfully predicting a number of things, including the 2008 crash.
The Big Short, right? So the movie The Big Short was about him.
The film The Big Short, played by Christian Bale, that's Michael Burry.
Okay.
So he's got a number of statements that have gone out over probably the past year.
And I got to tell you, when someone's managing billions of dollars, people tend to listen. And let's see how vocal he's gotten.
So I mean, we've just got headlines. He's on Twitter telling people he's warning of the biggest market bubble in history. Biggest market bubble.
Well, the stock market is literally right now at its all-time high. And is this guy talking real estate, or is he talking about stock market?
Most of it's talking stock market, although I think some of these stocks are related to real estate.
Well, we are due for a big stock correction. The stock correction comes every 7 years. We have not had the initial correction that we felt just at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
Boom, we have recovered long past that.
Yeah.
So
and is that because we're flooding money into the market? Is that because we're printing?
It's interesting. It's hard. I think that the government is prolonging the inevitable right now. And just like in the 2008 subprime crisis, where you had these heartbeat loans where people were lending out money for really bad paper, we're seeing the exact same thing happen with the government printing trillions of dollars and flooding that into the economy, hoping they can artificially prop it up. But is that going to come to an end? First of all, it has to. And they're going to identify the stock market crash as the crash of all crashes. And it's probably going to be a really big one because we're certainly up for one. But within 36 months of a crash, the stock market is usually back up to its previous high. So it's always short-lived.
So Michael Burry, he's not nobody. He's successfully predicted a number of things.
Yeah.
He predicted 08. He dumped a bunch of stocks from his portfolio in the third quarter and ended up making a lot of money knowing that crash was coming. He's predicted when Tesla stock would crash. He's predicted when Bitcoin was about to come down. And so he's been pretty successful with some of his predictions. Crypto is really interesting in this world. It's new that this enters the financial arena and things affect it.
Yeah.
I know you invested in crypto.
I have. I still do. I own a ton of crypto.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge believer in it. But you see, I also understand how asymmetric it is, and I also understand that it moves in massive fluctuations.
Talk to me about that.
Anyone that's owned crypto for the last 24 months, from the point that they started at, has not lost money. 24 months is a really long period of time in the market, though. That means that real estate, that crypto has the ability to go up substantially, and yet it also has the ability to come down.
Yeah.
I think crypto is hovering right now in the low 30s, and yet it hit a high close to almost $70,000. So it's literally dropped half in price. And as it's dropped, I've bought a ton of it. Could it go down even lower? Yeah, if you actually look at its historical trends, there's a good chance it's going to go low, but asymmetry is based on longer term holding patterns. Anyone who's like, hey, I bought crypto today, I'm hoping in 6 months I'm up and I'm a gajillionaire. I'm like, well, the people who make a lot of money in crypto, there's years of waiting and then there's months where you see some really massive traction. I would not be surprised if we see an even deeper retraction than we've seen so far. And then it might take years to stabilize before it shoots back up again. Will it likely go back and then go above and beyond anything we've seen yet? Yeah, more than likely. One, they're not making any more of it. Two, people have enough adoption. You have countries adopting it, you have banks adopting it, you have companies adopting it, and yet it's a really poor store of value compared to the US dollar, which predictably goes down, should be 3% a year with inflation. Right now it's over 6% a year. Hopefully that's probably going to get worse. However, it's a great store of value, cryptocurrency, if you're a long hodler.
Well, and the thing that's crazy about crypto is I feel like it's finicky, man. Like Elon Musk is like, we love crypto. We're going to start accepting crypto to
And then I'm going to hop on Saturday Night Live. I'm going to do a wisecrack on Dogecoin and boom, it's going to plummet the next day.
Yep. And then he came back and he was like, never mind. Tesla is dumping Bitcoin. We don't want involved with it because apparently Bitcoin is harmful to the environment. And his whole electric car thing is all about
the environment.
Helping the environment.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin seemed to like fluctuate with every one of his statements.
Well, you got to understand that he was a major stakeholder. What about like $1.5 billion worth? So first of all, he's got that. But then aside from that, he's got his press that he comes out with regularly. And is his press impacting the price? 100%.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about crypto because Michael Burry says the problem with crypto, as in most things, is leverage. If you don't know how much leverage is in crypto, you don't know anything about crypto.
Yeah. I got to be honest, I don't understand what leverage there is in crypto. I don't think I understand what he's talking about. I just know that crypto is a very, very, very long game. And you have to ask yourself what you believe in. And there's a lot of altcoins, alternative coins that are going to go to zero, right? You buy in the stock market and it won't have the asymmetric upside of crypto, but it also doesn't have the downside. Well, we lost 30% of the value of the stock. It was devastating. That's not the same thing as, well, I bought in the coin at 17 cents and today it's worth 1 penny. Like crypto can go to zero, especially these altcoins.
Which may not be around for forever.
Yeah, and they won't. They don't all support technologies that will actually allow that to happen.
Okay, so talk to me about this. Michael Burry also says that what is happening right now is speculation is drawing in retail investors.
Yeah, so retail investment means that you've got, look at it this way. You have Robinhood that has been taken over by a millennial generation. This is a generation that has 5 times less net worth at their age than the previous generation has had.
5 times less?
5 times less. And yet they're moving, I think it's $11 or $12 million a day on Robinhood. Robinhood is not a sophisticated platform. So you have market chasers. They're literally excited. They look at these AMC and they look at these other surges on, on some of these stocks. And guess what they're doing? They're
like
just
GameStop.
playing. They're chasing the market. And listen, people that know how to play the stock market and win, all they're doing is saying, wow, we've got a record high of naive idiots, and it's going to be like taking candy from a baby. And anyone that knows what they're doing, that's exactly what they're doing. And so the problem is that you've got more money in the market than we've historically ever had before. Savings are absolute high. Money is flush. And so that doesn't make for always the most intelligent financial crowd. And now that you have fractionalized, stock investing options, it's like, I don't have to pay $800 for the value of your one stock. I can literally buy 30 cents of that $830. I'm going to own a piece of what that stock actually is. So it is, on the one hand, super inviting. It's been democratized. You got more people that can play than ever before, but you've never had such an uneducated group that are going at it.
That's crazy. What do you think is going to happen because of those?
Oh, well, first of all, I just want to be really clear. I believe in market cycles. We have an extended cycle because we have a Biden who's like, I just got the people 1.9 trillion. Creepy Joe.
He's like, the checks are coming.
The checks are coming. It's $500 meaningless dollars.
Hold on, you
after
can
they
get
haven't
that,
worked for 6 months.
You can get that new Xbox.
Yes. I mean, it's stupid, right? But the dude he believes that you can just print money to solve. And I'm like, and you know what? The Pied Piper is never going to come calling. There will never be a consequence. I'm like, buddy, normally your bad choices are going to be felt 2 presidents from now. I'm sorry. We are already feeling your poor choices. Inflation has doubled. Things literally, your money has your inflation is twice as bad as it's been over the 100-year average. And that's just the beginning. It is going to get worse. People are like, well, look at all these real estate prices that are going up like crazy. What do you think that is a reaction to? Yes, real estate is a very different game. Yes, we have a need for, according to Wall Street Journal, 4 million homes, that people want in the marketplace. And we don't have that. Last week alone, half of the inventory in the entire US was snatched up and is gone. right? The real estate market is predictable. There will be no real estate bubble burst until we satisfy the demand. Once we satisfy demand and we start building spec homes that people, literally don't have to live in, of course there's going to be a bubble burst. We're going to see the stock market crash long before the real estate market.
Do you think it'll be in the next year?
I'm not going to predict when it's going to be because I don't know how much more money, Uncle Joe is going to be printing because I think that he's controlling a really important market force. But when it comes due, we are all going to feel it in our shorts.
So let me ask you this, as it pertains to real estate, is the one area that real estate could be weak, even with the demand for properties, is in rental units and evictions. Do you foresee any problem with that, with landlords being over leveraged and then they can't fill apartments?
The eviction moratorium coming to an end, and how many millions of homes were actually...
Well, and if we do stop printing money and these people are using this money from the government to pay their rent, what happens when that stops? You got a bunch of landlords who
Listen, I don't know if Joe can pull it off or not, but if the dude can get more money from the government to just give away to more people, he will. In this most recent bill that was passed, if you are listening and you're a hardworking American that is actually succeeding in a higher tax bracket, I just want you to know what your tax dollars were used for. Did you know that you're now paying for everyone else's childcare for 3 and 4-year-olds? Did you also know that you're paying for someone's broadband internet? You're now paying. The government is now dictating that we should be buying people's internet. I'm like, where do you cross the line between how much government versus state should be involved? This is stupid. This is dumb. The amount of stuff, this is dumb. This is the stuff that our tax dollars are going towards right now. It's just pure insanity. Why am I paying for all this shit? I don't understand it, but I'm really upset about it. And Biden is laughing all the way to the bank. Dude, the guy has plans during his first term alone of wrapping up trillions more dollars and just giving it away. I'm like, when is that going to come crashing down on us? Right now, he's not funding it. The government's not funding it. The taxpayers are. Why do you think they're doubling taxes?
Why?
Because someone's got to pay for it.
Right.
And it's not the government. They're like, well, this tax people that are doing well financially. They'll pay for it. We can have whatever we want.
So I'm afraid to ask this next question.
Then don't ask it.
I feel like on this podcast, we always do the honest thing and ask the true thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Is this a pivot to push us in a socialist direction? So that
now you're begging me to like comment on conspiracy theory kind of stuff.
This isn't
the one world
theory.
Government, right? The one order, like the one government that rules them all. The ring.
I just think there's a trend between every time Europe does something, eventually people start pushing America in that direction. And Europe over the past 20 years has definitely moved more socialist.
So I've lived in a communistic country. I've lived in a socialistic country. And I'm going to tell you right now, those countries don't have happy people. They have individuals that have so much of their freedoms revoked that they don't really have the right to pursue a better life without someone knocking them down and making it more and more difficult for them.
Yeah.
And I do need to be honest. I'm worried about America. The America that my dad from Germany came here for 40 years ago is not the same America today. And we are far more socialistic. We always have this debate between Republican and Democrat, and dude, we're going hardcore in the direction of socialism. There's a principle out there that you expose people to a principle, they get shocked the first time, but if you repeat exposure, eventually it will normalize. Yep. We are normalizing this whole idea that the government should be paying for your medical. The government should, by the way, look at unemployment right now. Unemployment is like some are hovering between 5% and 6%, and yet we have more people than we have jobs. And why aren't they taking them? Because the government is doing such a good job cutting your unemployment check at a high enough, steep enough rate that people are now unincentivized to go to work. And that is a bad thing for a people.
I heard this headline, Chris, that goes right along with this. And I haven't fact checked it, so maybe things have changed since this came out. But I heard that San Francisco has decriminalized petty theft up to $950.
I haven't heard that, but that's terrifying.
Walgreens is closing all of their stores in San Francisco because people just walk in and take stuff, and they're allowed to, and they're not allowed to stop them from just shoplifting.
How is that not some form of socialism? It's this whole, I'm entitled to internet, I'm entitled to childcare, I'm entitled to, if the job doesn't pay enough, then you just got to give me money instead. And I'm just telling you right now, that a society is healthy when its people have motive, when they have desire to want to work to build a brighter future for them and their family. You take that away from them, and you're not going to like what this country becomes, or at least that's not a country I'm going to be a part of.
And can this level of us being so dependent on the government, can it last if there is a bubble crash?
It's a good question. If there's a crash, the government is just going to print more.
Yeah.
But at what point
At what point?
does your GDP not produce enough money to even service the interest of your debts? That is a scary number. And the last time I looked into it, we were approaching a very, very dangerous debt load. I don't know what the updated number is because frankly, Obama, whereas you've got a Clinton that basically balanced the budget,
Yeah.
you fast forward and you have an Obama that got us so many trillions of dollars in record history debt. And now we have a Biden that is literally trying to triple down on that.
He's like doubled already what Obama did in his entire presidency.
Yes. So right now, eventually someone's going to have to pay for this stuff.
Are you scared, Chris?
I would say that I am super worried. At times, I'm pissed off. It feels, I have to say, unfair. I look at how much money I made this last year. I look at how much value I had to create in the world, how hard I had to work. And the idea of almost half of that going to the government to support programs, some of which I believe in, but many of which I don't, that's frustrating. It brings me entirely back to Ayn Rand's books. She wrote The Fountainhead. She wrote books on Atlas Shrugged. And if you haven't read those books, you have this Russian economist who argues that if you don't allow people a space to win and get ahead and keep some level of their earnings because someone else keeps taking it from them, eventually you're going to either incentivize them to stop or to move on out. And I can't say how many friends I have that have now expatted outside the US that are now living in Puerto Rico because there's a 4% tax and Biden has his will. That's not going to last very long either. They're looking for tax safe havens. They've worked so hard. Do you know how hard it is to become like a successful human being? To have a business, for example, that produces 8 figures in results. When you pass that 10 million mark, only 1 in 16,000 companies get to that level. That wasn't luck. That was hard work and to tax almost half of that money. And if you take a look at a C Corp, it's more than half of the money. I think that the government is getting to a threatening level where the things that it would like to afford that we can't because they're acting like crybabies. They want things that parents should just say no to. When the parents are now trying to create these entitlements, what happens to your producers? Well, listen, we don't want to put them all in jail for tax evasion, but they're exploring every viable option for any tax code or anything that can get out of some of these obligations because you've got people that are making $100,000 a year that are paying nothing in taxes. The burden is falling more and more heavily upon the people that are producers in a really big way. And trust me, a lot of these people I know I'm friends with, we love to give back, but not necessarily forced to in ways that we don't necessarily believe in. I've got my own charitable organization. I've got my own 501. I love putting money in there every single month and giving that away, but to causes that I believe in. I'm doing my good my way. My good is employing this year. How many people are we going to hire in the next 12 months?
Probably 150.
150 people that I'm giving jobs to. That's part of my contribution. By the way, a kick butt culture, a place people want to work at, a place where you can be acknowledged and recognized and enjoyed, and a place where you can get raises because you know how to produce greater ROI, not just this whole garbage seniority idea of, well, I once did something once upon a time that was cool. So maybe I brink border, am I a millennial or not, is like, maybe I'm still too old school where I'm like, shoot, I want to have people create their own dreams. I promise you the dream that the government has for you, it's not that bright.
Yeah, but what about the super rich, Chris? What about the Jeff Bezos, the Mark Zuckerbergs, who's the owner of Microsoft?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Sure.
Shouldn't they be the one paying for my internet?
Well, so, the reality is I like a system that taxes people so that we can all pitch in. I'm even okay with a system that says, hey, you make more money, so you're going to pay more. Percentage-wise, I have no problem with that. But, when you say, hey, by the way, you doubled your company's revenue, we're now going to quadruple your tax. Did I experience that last year? Yeah.
Ouch.
Did that feel like a wet fish to the face? Did that feel like a wet fish slap? Yeah. And listen, I don't want to get it wrong here. I love paying the goose that lays the golden egg. I don't mind paying taxes for good things. But do I feel right now that the government has an agenda that is stretching far beyond the basic unalienable rights that we should have as a people? Yeah, they literally want the government to pay for all sorts of, I don't want to pay for your gender reassignment surgery. I don't. Go crowdfund or go to family or go whatever. But What world do we live in where governments are supposed to pay for that? That's weird. That's weird. Go be a successful human being and go get the things that you want in life and benefit people and help people. But we're now turning a corner. That statement's going to piss some people off here because some of us just want to believe that we're entitled to everything. You should pay for my abortion, Chris Crone. No. And I won't get into is abortion good or bad or whatever. What I'm saying is I don't want to pay for that. Like, is that a social program that taxpayers should be participating in? I think that the government should be investing in its people and helping them be successful. By the way, whether you like Donald Trump or not, what he did for the economy and what he was doing by helping earners earn more powerfully, that was working. Did he probably make some big blunders when it came to how he handled COVID? Sure. And now what? We're all paying for it. And I look at that whole COVID agenda and I'm like, man, now we've opened just another Pandora's box. It's just another way for the government to silence and muzzle and then basically say our way. So does some of that lean towards this socialistic notion or even a one world order? Yeah, how can you not think a little bit about that? Because that whole thing is very, very infuriating on so many levels. The government had the ability to send money to those that were at risk and let everyone go back to work. The government had a lot of different options on how they could have handled this. And all that we've done is I think we've created a higher degree of worry, fear, and self-helplessness.
Well, I think the whole thing was built on fear. Was there danger? Yes.
Very real.
I think about
and lives were lost.
Yeah. But Chris, the leading cause of death in the world, and it has been this way since we started tracking it, heart disease.
Yeah.
30% of all deaths come from heart disease.
And where are we hampering down on all the overeating and overindulgence on calories?
But that's old news.
Yeah.
Right? When something's old, it's not scary. It's like, oh, that's just part of life.
I just think you're trying to piss me off today, Carson.
I am.
I think you're just trying to piss me off.
Sorry, this is going all sorts of interesting directions.
You have succeeded.
But you keep saying the most interesting of things. So let's go down this rabbit hole. But yeah, it's fear-based. People are scared of COVID. Because it was new, I think. There was a lot of fear around it. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know how to fight it. We didn't know how to stop it. And a lot of decisions were based on, in fear. And what do you get when scarcity is your mindset?
You have all these HIPAA rules that you don't have to reveal your health situation. And yet right now, I've got, I think, 5 international trips scheduled over the next 8 months. And it is such a pain in the butt to get that negative COVID test. And it's like, great, so do you go and get vaccinated? And a lot of people don't know, but I had a son who faced, I won't even go into the depths, but my son, perfect healthy baby boy, who then got mercury stuck in his body because he couldn't genetically dispose of it. His liver wouldn't pass it. This is science. And because of it, he developed on spectrum autism, and it ruined his life. And then we had to find a doctor on the East Coast that could chelate that heavy metal that his body physically couldn't pass out of his body, something that is a pre-genetic disposition for boys more than girls. That's where you see that correlation. This doctor has, you can't use the word cure, but this doctor has restored opportunities and so much life to now over 10,000. This was like 10 years ago, 10,000 boys and a handful of girls that were in that situation. The government actually ordered that thimerosal be taken out as a preservative agent inside of the vaccines. They still haven't done that yet. And, the whole vaccine argument is so frustrating for people. And yet it's frustrating because I've been on a receiving end of that where it's like, get it. If I were president, I would want to do what was good for all the people. But what's it like when you're a father of a child who goes through this? And it has changed me and my wife's life forever. We live with it every day. We deal with it every day. And,
so the vaccine conversation for you guys is interesting when it comes
well,
to
it's interesting, one, because I have a son that I can't give the vaccine to when they make it available to kids because he can't process heavy metals.
Oh, that's right.
Right? It's very real.
And yet nobody's going to take that into consideration when you go
No,
on a trip.
they're not designed to. I have family members that hate on me and my wife, and I'm like, you of all people can't understand this? Ridiculous. Yeah, we live in a pretty crazy world today. So yeah, is there going to be
Well,
some?
and the
Is there going to be a
interesting thing
stock
is-
market implosion? 100% yes. Is it overdue? Yes. Can the government maybe extend it with its fiscal policy, financial easement, which basically means keep printing money and keeping interest rates super low so that we can kind of control the supply of money? Yeah, they're going to do that. I don't know how long that game's going to play. Do I have money in the stock market? I do. Am I a long-term player for the asymmetric upside on companies that I believe in long-term? 100% yes. But right now, I'm investing way more into business. I'm investing way more into real estate.
So this is what I want to know, Chris. This is really good. Thanks for getting us back on point. You interface with a lot of people. You have a mastermind, Financial Genius, that you've got a bunch of people joining that all are learning the money game and exchanging their ideas. You have hundreds of people that partner with you and come and buy homes. What are you advising your investors to do at this time?
Yeah, I mean,
If there is a bubble and if the stock market's going to crash.
So the stock market's going to crash. People don't understand. They sometimes think that a real estate crash and a stock market crash are synonymous. In 2 of the last 5 recessions, they were real estate related. In 3 out of 5, they were stock related. Frankly, 5 out of 5, they were stock related. In other words, people sometimes think when the stock market crashes, then the real estate market crashes. That only happens 2 out of 5 times, 2/5 of the time. This is not going to be one of those. The stock market will likely crash long before the real estate market bubble can even pop. Because remember, we couldn't even have a bubble pop when we had the need for 500,000 homes that hadn't been built yet, let alone the 4 million homes. We're 8 times that right now. We've historically never been so far out of whack. Historically, never had 50-year low on rates. Historically, have never had the supply and demand problem before. So, right now, what that's going to do is it's going to drive the prices of real estate up. And up. And so, by the way,
that across the board.
and I'm buying it right now. I am buying as much as I can. There's people like, wait, if that bubble pops, Chris, you're going to be caught with your pants down on real estate that you shouldn't have bought. No. Anyone who's buying above the new median is going to get hurt. And people who are buying above what the median should be are going to get hurt. I track what the median is supposed to look like. I understand how out of whack we are. My average house that I'm buying is still around $200,000. And I'm opening up markets to be there. People are like, how are you doing that? Like, isn't the median now 300,000? Isn't it in some areas 400,000? Is it in some areas 500,000? Yeah, but I'm not going to buy those homes because I'm not chasing the market like a young millennial who's on Robinhood just throwing money at the market saying it's going up, so I'm going to win. I'm like, well, you've got a really cool lesson coming to you in the next several months or a couple of years that's going to teach you a little bit different because this is your first go.
So how is buying below the median safer?
Well, think about it. A $200,000 house over the next 5 years may become a $400,000 house.
Yeah.
And if you know how to track inventory and how to sell, then I put $40,000 down or $50,000 down on a $200,000 house and it becomes $400,000. And I sell, and let's say that I have a net gain of $180,000 on a $50,000 investment. That is like a 350% ROI on my money in perhaps 5 years. That's like earning 75% a year on your money. Where else can you do that right now? I mean, I typically get 25%, so I'm going for double and triple profits right now in the game of real estate. You can't time the stock market. You sure as heck can time real estate.
So you're advising your investors to buy more.
We're just out there doing it. We're out there buying right now. Now, let's also say that you buy a $200,000 house, the house goes up to $400,000, and let's say the market drops down to $300,000 or $250,000. Guess what? I'm still up, and even if I weren't, I'm still cash flowing. But I'm buying the safest real estate that's out there in the market right now. It's single family. It's the most desirable real estate. Its decade has come. Even Dave Ramsey says that you'll miss out if you don't buy now as prices are going up for the next decade. You're going to be waiting year over year over year. Man, I mean, you and I have a friend. This is exactly where they're at. Like, oh, shoot, I should have bought last year, but now I'll just wait. I'm like, you're going to be waiting a really long time.
Chris, with our team, we got under contract on a new build.
Yeah.
Which means we're under contract, we're locked in, but we don't pay on it until it's finished building in November. And come November, it'll probably have increased $20,000 in equity.
Yeah. On that small little baby house, that's an extra 10% more than you were anticipating.
Yeah.
And on your ROI, that's probably going to be equivalent to how much are you going to put down on it? You did a deposit probably.
We did 62. Down.
So 62,000. So let me just ask you. So that's already a third, a 33% ROI. But did you already put that money down and close on it?
No, we haven't yet.
No, what's your deposit?
We put like $2,000 for
$2,000 down
money.
for $20,000. That is a That is a really high.
Yeah.
That's a 1,000%.
Well, and I
ROI.
jokingly said to Brandon, I was like, once it's done building, why don't I just flip it? And he was like, I was joking, of course, but he was like,
He's not.
You could.
He's not.
He's like, you could.
He's not. He could.
He's like, you could turn
Yeah.
around and sell this and make all your money back and then some that fast on this new build. It's insanity.
Yep. And yet I've got information like this all over the internet.
Really?
And I'm amazed at how many people are like, oh my gosh, Chris, you are so screwed. Your day of reckoning is going to come. You are going to get spanked. And of course, all of those comments do come from people who have never made more than $50,000 or $60,000 a year of income, who have never saved up more than $50,000 or $100,000.
The scarcity.
And what they're doing is they're repeating their childhood financial teachings, which, by the way, will get you what 97% of Americans get at retirement, which is in debt, relying on the government, relying on Social Security. You got to go out and get a job or rely on charity. Don't take advice from broke people.
To wrap us up, Chris, your statement. Bubble's coming. You think the stock market's going to crash?
Oh, 100% yes.
Yeah?
100% yes. I'm not going to say when because I don't know. And anyone that says they do know, they probably don't.
They probably don't. They're guessing. It's all a guess. There's so many different things at play
But it
here.
is most definitely, its time has absolutely come.
But real estate.
No, we're years away. We're years away. We have to solve a problem. You see, after 2008 hit, we went 5, 6, 7 years without building. Then when we started, we still weren't building fast enough, and we were basically going deeper and deeper and deeper in debt, meaning the number of people who wanted houses, the demand kept increasing, and we were not supplying at the rate of demand. So with every month that I tracked it, the number grew bigger and bigger and bigger year over year for a decade. We are now sitting at a point where that number before COVID was sitting over 2 million, which is a glut. It is like, that's like 5, 6 years of building. The number jumped to nearly 4 million because now you have all these people that say, sorry, my house went up. I got a lot of equity and I have money and I want to trade up. If I'm not going to be working from home, which is the desire of 75% of people that don't want to go back into the workplace, they're basically saying, I need a different kind of house. I need a house that I can work in and a house that I can live in. It looks different to me. I'm going to transition my equity from this house into the next one. And you're right. Prices have gone up $100,000, $150,000, but so has my equity. So it'll be sixes to me and I just get a bigger house. And that's their mindset. So going from 2 to 4 million, how much of that 2 million is real? Well, I'll tell you what, I think that the market is so slow to bring those new houses to the market that you have people that are now investing in their existing houses and refinishing them, refurbishing them, finishing basements, redoing kitchens. They're putting their money into their house because they realize they're going to be waiting maybe years before they can actually do that. My wife and I, we're working on an addition on our own home. Architect is giving us a second set of plans. And I turn to my wife, she's like, hey, when are we doing this? I'm like, well, ideally next year. Well, I'm probably gonna have to give a contractor an extra $500,000 just to get bumped in line to do it when I want it. And that's what the construction market's gonna look like for the next few years.
Not to mention the cost of lumber.
Well, that's starting to equalize a little bit. It's starting to come back down, right? I mean, we're gonna see fluctuation. We're gonna see this thing come and go and happen. And just fascinating to watch. So, by the way, Michael, is he right on the stock crash? I'm not surprised if he is. I wouldn't be surprised if it was inside the next 12 months, and it certainly could literally be next week.
But end all be all, time to hold your cash or put it into play.
Oh my gosh, if you are holding on to cash at what's happening in inflation, that's really stupid. Right now, we're measuring inflation at 6%. By the time the real stats come out, I would not be surprised if it could even hit hyper, which means you got to be 18% or more to hit hyperinflation. This is going to be big. Holding money is dumb. You should be investing it, and you just got to figure out where to do it. For me, it's most certainly single family. That we are crushing, we are winning right now. And anyone that wants to learn about that can go to chriscrone.com, learn more about me. I do partner with people around the world. I am way more selective than I've ever been on who I actually partner with because I've got limited inventory. But for the right partner, dude, and I partner with all sorts of people that are just getting their start in life. But I've got people in Hollywood, I got musicians, I got pro players, I got this whole spectrum of amazing human beings that I get to share this with. And it's because I have a track record on $1 billion in real estate. It's a track record on over 5,000 single family homes. And we're making a name for ourselves right now, I promise you, during this recession. I can't wait for the bubble to burst and the smile on my investors' faces. It's going to be brilliant.